Howdy folks, and welcome back to another episode of Follow the Leader. I'm your host, Lee Larson, and I have two lovely ladies running for office today with me in the studio. Well, sort of, it's on podcast Zoom, but you know how it goes. I have Valynda Holland running for Montana Senate District 11 and Lela Graham running for House District 21. Valynda and Lela, welcome to the studio.
Yay, hi, thanks for having us.
Absolutely, this is exciting. So one of you is running for Senate, the other is running for State Senate, the other is running for House. Talk to me. We'll start with you, Valynda. What motivates you to run for office?
I've actually been involved in politics since I was 18. I actually helped campaign for Ken Pentel for governor of Minnesota. He was actually running with the Ecology Democracy Party that he was starting at the time. So I got a lot of experience there. And then in 2016, I actually helped with the Bernie Sanders campaign down in Southern California. So I've been involved in politics for quite a long time now. And then also I'm actually 10 weeks away from graduating with my bachelor's in political science. So I've definitely, had aspirations to run for office for a long time. But especially with everything going on now, that's just kind of, if not now, when, then right now it needs to happen. So we need more people out there running for a real change. So, yeah.
Thank you for that, and congratulations on the graduation next month. That's a huge accomplishment. And yes, we need more people that have an understanding of political science and running office, because I think too many people know how to run a capitalist business and not really understand how people in society and government operates. And Lela, I know you know this. You have a union background, and you're running for House District 21. Talk to me about your journey and the call to run to office.
So this is my third run. I've ran against a really powerful incumbent the last two cycles, and this cycle is open. So I'm gonna run. Get to run the way we always wanted to the last couple cycles as an open seat. I got involved in politics when I was a fourth year at UVA. I was at Take Back the Night March, and the gentleman who was running for Congress at the time was running anti-war against Iraq, and he had been a two-tour Vietnam vet, Green Beret, and I didn't really know a lot of other anti-war Dems. So I got involved in politics that way because I showed up early, because I'm also former military, so I showed up early to his meeting. He's like, go talk to my campaign manager because he understands my concept of time. And I just after out of UVA, got involved in politics, managed campaigns for almost 15 years before I moved home to Montana, and then did the retiree veteran thing, and did activism on my own. About 3 years ago, I moved back to Great Falls, used my VA loan to buy a house, and then I kind of been running ever since. So my degree is in women's studies from the University of Virginia, so necessarily kind of political, not poli-sci, but it's an interdisciplinary major. So, but I did a lot of management of targeted races, statewide races, and did management. So now I'm managing my own campaign with Valynda, my co-manager. Well, she's my manager, but
I think we kind of co-manage.
We're co-manage each other. So and we're running as a team. So I'm in 21 and she's in 11, and 11 is over. It represents 21 and 22 in Montana. So that's maybe why we're in there together, because we're running that kind of team. I will be focusing on 21, obviously that's my district, and she'll be in 22, and then I'll be carrying her lit when I'm not. So that's a way we can handle, both districts, and win that.
Yeah. Because we're definitely, we got this.
That's really inspiring and empowering to see y'all come together, and I even love the red that y'all are wearing today, the blazer and
that was planned.
That was not planned.
You sure about that?
And the purple name tags.
Yeah.
That was not planned either.
That is too funny. Well, yeah, I love that though. I think purple's a different color too, and it'll definitely stand out against all the red, white, and blues. Like someone came to me recently and asked me about political campaign stuff, and I was like, it is so limiting, like what you can do and say, and just because it's politics. So, but well, talk to me. Lela, you mentioned that you have a women's studies degree, and Valynda, you have your political science or about to receive it. Um, why is it important that the humanities are in decision making positions?
Honestly, I even just kind of starting out, because I didn't immediately when I went to college say, hey, I'm going into political science. I actually started going through all of my like general ed requirements, and I took anthropology, which was like huge. That was just such an eye opener. And then once I got into like the political science of things and had to take a couple of those courses, I was like, I'm going to do this actually. Like I pivoted from theater arts, which was originally what I was going for, to political science. But I just think that it's so important because it honestly, teaches you about, the human race. Because at the end of the day, we're all on the same planet. We're all human beings. There's not really much difference other than, people believe they have their own beliefs, the religious beliefs, um, different, areas that work differently. I mean, obviously every country functions differently, but we're all the same. And I think that just tying everybody together as one is just like huge, and having that education on that. So, yeah.
I think
You?
that humanities, I was going to say critical enables you to read. I mean, we had to read so many things. It's critical thinking, enables like it encourages compassion and empathy, which is something that that there is like empathy is not like a thing we want, or like empathy is a sin, or I don't know where that's coming from. But you learn compassion and understanding, critical thinking, because you're reading and you're discussing like so much like different perspectives, that I think having that foundation as an educational foundation in humanities across the board just enables you to resonate, relate to everyone and think critically with compassion and empathy.
Well, tell me, and Lela, we'll go back to you. Tell me, what are some of the challenges facing your district?
For me,
Yes.
I think the district is a little bit is some part. Most of my district is economically like well, like upper middle class, and half my district is the opposite, is working class or lower class. So it's an interesting differentiation between. I have the whole like west side, north side, whatever you want to call it, of Great Falls. The old, Black Eagle, which is where the smelter was, the working class, and that Valley View, which is a lot of, working class households, and that Riverview, which goes from like working class all the way to very like McMansions and mansions. So it's a very diverse, economically diverse area. Um, and there's new development on there. So I think it historically has been, a very, purple district, and Pasco County's gone a little bit red, but I think it is solidly purple. So there's a lot of work to be done to, talk to people. And as somebody who's a community activist and involved in a lot of organizations that benefit our community and a veteran status, and I'm also a native Montanan, generational Montanan. It's the door to people who may be concerned about voting for a Democrat, and like you can just, I mean, I mean, I just lead with veteran, and I'm like, I'm from here, and you've seen me a lot of times, and I'm persistent and just like I'm at it again to win. So I'm determined to do whatever it takes to make it happen. So I think that's. But the purpleness, or the deep, almost red, in Cascade County in general is a challenge.
What about you, Valynda? What are some of the challenges of Montana State Senate District 11?
Well, I think a lot of people are really feeling the brunt of the really bad policies that have been made, and they're really struggling. Even people who actually were better off are kind of finding themselves on a tighter budget these days, because we're at this point, like, we're all kind of hurting. And so really, I think, obviously we need our taxpayer dollars to actually be going towards funding what it needs to be funding, education, affordable housing, healthcare, things like that, especially because there is, an aging population that's coming up. And so with the cuts to Medicare and Medicaid, that's not good for anybody. So I know those are real issues. So those are definitely issues that I am tackling, absolutely. And then obviously with the working class, because again, we do have, in Senate 11, I actually also have moms from Air Force Base as well. So there's a lot of, military, working class over in Black Eagle, and then aging going up Riverview. But yeah, it's a mix. Obviously, with military, nobody is trying to go fight in this war in Iran. That is a huge issue. Obviously, that's not something that should even be happening right now, in my opinion. And so there's a lot of various concerns that span all over the spectrum.
Well, and are you seeing that? Are you seeing Malmstrom people not, speak out against this war?
I have spoken to a couple of individuals that are out at Malmstrom. Everyone is really concerned, especially because it really concerned us here because we have so many of the missiles. And, with a statement being put out by the president that, he's ready to annihilate an entire civilization, it's got everybody, like, deeply concerned. I mean, everybody's very scared because this really puts a target on us, not only as a country, but I feel like, here in Great Falls, just because we really do house majority of the missiles for the country, I think. So it's a big big concern.
It reminded me of when I was growing up here, is like, you're there, if there's a nuclear war, it'll be like New York, DC, Great Falls, like we're going to be part of first strike. And that was a kind of embedded, I know growing up here was embedded that we're, if there is a nuclear war, we're a part of the first strike. So just hold on, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, we definitely. So yeah, so there's a lot to tackle with running for Senate for sure.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. So let's talk about, and we'll go back to Lela. What are some of your campaign policies? What are things, I know that you have a union background. How does that impact your run?
I think that definitely impacts our the run, and make sure that we have, especially in the legislature, we make sure we don't have a right to work legislation coming through and getting past that, and make sure that Montana stays, a union state, one of the only union states out here in the West, and make sure that we have prevailing wages, we pay our, education, pay our school teachers, and that's foundation. Working class, most of the, outside of that, the main focus I have is healthcare. So anything with mental health care, substance use. I mean, yesterday was Ryan White's anniversary of his death, and they announced that they're going to cut all of the Ryan White Care Act funding with anyone who has HIV, and anyone who grew up in the 80s, like I did, knows that that I mean, that I would say that is one of the reasons why I'm involved in politics, is growing up in the 80s and having a lot of people that I knew, die in this horrible death. That thing. So definitely that's something, it's a little obscure. Most people aren't talking about that, but I am. And then access to treatment, to mental health treatment, substance use treatment, recovery houses, making sure we have houses available for people, not just DOC related, to get help through with substance use and that kind of stuff. So that's in-house housing. I'm on House Great Falls board, so we help people who are have experiencing homelessness, and give them resources. We run a cold weather drop-in, so at least we get a hot meal a day when we're open. So the people that need So I'm a person in long-term recovery, and I'm like very vocal. That's the other thing that gets me, like my lived experience in these worlds. Being a veteran, being a person in long-term recovery is. Thank God.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about you, Valynda? What are some of the policies that you feel the strongest about, or some of your campaign values?
Yeah, so I also have a lot of lived experience. I definitely come from a pretty rough background. And so basically, what I am running on, obviously, affordable housing, obviously, the community, the people here in Great Falls, as well as across the country, have been priced out of homes. Especially with property management companies, private equity firms, and hedge funds, primarily buying up all of our housing market. So I intend to fight that. We need affordable housing for everyone. So I'm looking at implementing rent caps, getting those private equity firms, hedge funds, and property management companies actually fully out of the actual housing market, so that we can get families and people, like real people, into those houses. I'm also running on healthcare reform. I do have a background in medical billing and claims, and I have seen firsthand exactly how just overwhelming the entire healthcare system is, from insurance to the healthcare costs. So I'm looking at implementing a single payer system for Montana, so that every Montanan has health insurance, as well as taking a look at the private insurance sector and implementing caps on their deductibles and premiums, so that should any Montanan decide that they also would like to have their own private insurance, at least it's reasonable. As well as looking at our hospitals and clinics, and also putting caps on, how much they're charging, because I'm sorry, but Tylenol and ibuprofen for $500 a pop is insane. So that's, those are big issues to me. I'm also really largely running on criminal justice reform. I've seen almost every aspect of it, from a failed justice system that has failed over and over to actually do anything. I mean, I was just recently assaulted in my apartment in November by a man that I was seeing. He assaulted me and my two girlfriends, actually, and the police did nothing. They actually sat there and told us, oh, well, were you guys drinking? Well, maybe if you weren't drinking, these bad things wouldn't happen to you. So things like that are a huge, major issue, because it's happened over and over again. On top of that, my brother is currently incarcerated, and so he is actually stuck in the privatized prison system that is Core Civic, because Montana has been contracting with them. And my brother, along with, I think there's still over 600 inmates now, were shipped out of state, and he is currently in Arizona, but I think right now he may even be on transport all the way to Mississippi. He's born and raised here in Montana. He has family here, and he's been completely separated from his family and the people that, can help him. And so and that is a huge issue. On top of that, the DOC, there are millions of dollars that really just don't make sense. They say that they've paid, to improve the prison infrastructure, and there's not safe, clean drinking water even at Montana State Prison. So there's a lot of money that's unaccounted for, and that's taxpayer dollars. So there's a lot to be done with the criminal justice reform, so I'm very much passionate about that one as well. So
I really appreciate you explaining the corruption that goes on in our prison system and criminal reform with private prisons is as a real concern. Otherwise, I mean, the Montana taxpayers cannot afford a prison on their own, so we don't have really any other options, and it gets us so entangled. And then, of course, as you just said, there are labor issues and people using prison labor, and that's a whole story in and of itself. Because if there's a financial incentive to having prisoners for labor purposes, then now that it's not justice. Like it's simply
they're keeping these prisoners. There's actually, it took months before we ever saw anybody actually get paroled out of Arizona for Montana. They are keeping them in there, and that's the huge issue with privatized prison systems is they have zero incentive to invest in rehabilitation or anything of the sort, any of the educational programming, nothing, because they continue to make money every day that they're in there. So you're seeing less and less individuals being paroled out who really have no business being in there, and then they claim overcrowding. Well, if you're not releasing people and you just keep putting more people in there, of course there's going to be overcrowding. So we need to focus on rehabilitation and, educational programming and getting these men out, and, women as well. But getting them out and making sure that they're set up so that we can lower that recidivism rate.
Well, we've talked about veterans. We talked about this war briefly. And we also talked about Malmstrom. Can you talk about the growth that Malmstrom is expected to make over the next few years and how that could impact Great Falls and y'all's districts around the area? Whoever feels...
The new Sentinel project is going to really affect all of I think it will affect the whole region, not just Cascade County. It's going to affect Fergus County. It's going to affect Schroeder County, and Teton County, all of the region. The growth that, the long-term growth. We're going to have a very big, they're planning, small communities of men coming in and just building these sites, and then then there's going to be people coming long-term stays. We're going to have to do a lot of building right now. That's one thing with what I think is affordable housing in Great Falls is that it's not that prices that we don't have a lot of inventory because we haven't spent a lot of time, a lot of money building, an infrastructure in Great Falls. So the prices are going to be high because there's not a lot of inventory. There's not, and I know there's a lot of discussion and growth in the city and with the city plan and the county plan and how that looks. But I think it's probably a decade a little too late to have these things when the Sentinel is coming in like 2 years.
Yeah, because they're really trying to really put a hurry on that one.
Yeah, and it's going to. I remember when Malmstrom lost the 2 air wings, and we lost like 20,000 people like that. I remember Great Falls used to be a lot bigger. It was like closer to 80 at one point, and then we lost the air wings at Malmstrom, and then obviously the periphery of stuff closed down around that. So it was, I think this is going to be an influx of people that I don't know if we're quite prepared for. I know there's a lot of discussions. There's a lot of people who are concerned, especially in our city management and city planning. So people are having the discussions, but I'm not sure if everything's catching. So I think there's a lot of questions of what that looks like.
Well, and I think that's a huge reason why, I think if we can get these, property management companies, private equity firms, hedge funds out of our housing market, because right now, how many of those are being utilized as Airbnbs by these companies?
For sure.
How many of these are being rented out at obscene pricing that people can't really afford? That would actually open up a good chunk of the housing market right there, is if we can tackle that. Obviously, we do need to look at, building new housing for the incoming individuals, but I just think that a big issue is getting those entities out of our housing market to really open that back up, because I think that would really help alleviate some of that stress.
There's definitely a lot of Airbnbs in because I look and I mean sometimes I'm like that's not the person, and it rotates because I walk around a lot.
Yeah.
21. So that's something to be discussed.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of communities have made regulation on what that looks like and how the rules were for Airbnb, but I don't know if Great Falls has. I don't think they have any rules on.
Yeah,
that,
I think
so
that's definitely something that needs to be looked at.
that's a local. That's something we can discuss with the commission.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing that I'm concerned about with military in general, national security, headlines, all of this, is how they could very easily use national security to strong arm AI data centers. Like,
Yes.
Absolutely.
like in a heart, like we're talking in the same way that the military has done massive ventures infrastructure. I mean,
Yeah.
and you could see it becoming something, I don't know, almost like some weird AI New Deal or something. I don't know. I've heard so many different talks, but the AI data centers, and I don't want to put y'all necessarily in a position to speak. You can speak, say whatever you want about AI, because it's a really, AI itself, super controversial. We're seeing incredible advancements in research, women's medical research and data. There's all sorts of rural healthcare. There is like incredible things. On the downside, privacy, military, control, all the horrible things. And then you've got AI data centers on top of it. And then you've got AI is ultimately coming for all of our jobs. Like, so at the end of the day, anything we say, I'm like, so it's like I'm on the fence of being like, okay, I'll learn how to use it professionally so that I know how, but how long am I even going to be employed? But
Yeah.
can we talk about AI? I want to hear what y'all have to say.
Absolutely.
Oh, so I didn't even think, but I guess there was a district court decision on a legal thing of privacy with AI and like confidentiality, putting your case into AI to any, it was Claude, right? And putting your case into Claude, and that is no longer, you don't have attorney-client privilege because it's a third party now. So all of that is discoverable, and it was like this case that I don't know was decided within the last like week on violation on like legal ramification of putting your stuff into Claude, and that is no longer as a third party. So all of that is discoverable now. So you have no attorney-client privilege if you are doing that. So, and it was especially for Claude AI. And I was listening to some lawyers doing that, and it was a decision. I'm like that. I had not even thought about that as a ramification. But just any technology, privacy obviously is a concern. I mean, who has the data? Like, where's the data being used? I mean, we have Palantir, who's just like consuming everything, and this guy is not a good character. He's explicitly not, and has been very upfront that he's just going to use the data however he wants and however pays him the most. And he unabashedly, like, I don't give a crap about like where this is and who pays for it, or who I heard, and like what we want to use it for. And that's scary. And this is a huge corporation that no one outside of people who are kind of like in the know or talking about or like exists. I mean, maybe they don't know. So there's so many variables. And I mean, and there are, I'm assuming positive things coming out of it, but I think we need to be very aware of all of the ramifications, possibilities that can come on, and who has the data, who owns the data, how's it going to use, privacy, privacy, privacy. But
Yeah, I mean, and I do know that, like, you know, that AI has been used. I mean, it does have the really, amazing, things that have come out of it, like the medical research and things like that. But then there is the flip side of it that is actually really, I mean, it's gotten really dark even. But you've got, AI deepfake voices that are coming out, scamming people out of, millions of dollars per year because you know, they're deep fake voices that are created by AI to sound like another individual's family member that they then are like, oh, I'm in jail, like all the way over here. Can you send money to and then I actually there's this one woman that I follow on watching her videos on Facebook and stuff, but she just the other day just had a random man, a man who's come on and seen all of her stuff like that she posted, whatever, send her a naked photo of herself, but it was created via AI. So they took a photo of her that she had up on her even on her like private social media page. And it was a normal photo, and then he sent it back to her, and it was her completely unclothed. And that's actually happening more and more. I've definitely been seeing more and more of those stories coming out. And primarily, I mean, who are the targets in that? I mean, you're seeing a lot of women being targeted. So there are really a lot of, things that need to be looked at with AI. And that's just the usage of it. We're not even looking at like the environmental impact, the impacts to our communities, the water resources, the electricity. I mean, Northwestern Energy right now, they're completely redacting um, all of their documentation and everything in accordance with anything that has to do with AI data centers. They're having conversations and they're redacting everything. So they're starting to look like the Epstein files over there with Northwestern Energy. Yeah.
not a lot of transparent. There's a lack of transparency on some discussions, and that needs to be. But the cool thing is that we've had discussions on data centers in our community, and like 100 people show up in Great Falls. I
Yeah.
mean, so it is on the radar of a lot of people, and so that's one thing that we can say, like, people are aware that's going on and having conversations. I mean, GFDA is doing, like how we do the data centers pro and con, and like what does this
The data
look
center
like.
task force.
So I think there are people who are having conversations, and good and bad, and I think I mean, it's gonna. I mean, I think it's gonna. Data centers are gonna happen. We're gonna have to see how we can control and how we can make it not. We can make it better, and that's. I think the community, at least in Great Falls, is definitely pushing back on what that looks like and how we can make it better. I mean, because there is a data center on, and Northwest Bypass, right outside my district.
Yeah,
And I don't
VisionNet.
need VisionNet. I don't think a lot of people know that's there. And I mean, unless you know that it's there, you might not know what it is. It says VisionNet. But I mean, when I first saw it, I was like, "What is that?" And I had to look. And I thought it was like an eye care, because I think vision, that makes sense, right? Yeah. And then I'm like, "What's that new business?" Oh, okay. And
Yeah, I mean, VisionNet, they've been established in Montana for well over 30 years, and they've primarily just been in the telecommunications business. However, said they've been like, operating in Montana for over 30 years. The AI data centers and all of what those entail is vastly different than what they've done previously.
Yeah.
And like data centers do take a lot more than what they've previously done. But yeah, VisionNet, I mean, they're very connected. All of our cell towers and everything, they make all of our cell phones run, all of our internet run across Montana. They actually, all of our like 911 operations and everything like that is all tied through VisionNet. Like they run everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that one of my friends, she actually is running Just One Montanan, and she is definitely the person that's spearheading a lot of the AI data center talks and everything, and just really getting out there and informing people and doing the research and making sure that everybody has all of the information so that they can really decide for themselves. And she's been doing fantastic work. I mean, it's been phenomenal. And I mean, she's just every day she's got more and more stuff though, and it's
Yeah.
like it's actually pretty wild. But I don't think that they're like I'm very much in support of at least doing like a 4-year moratorium,
Yeah.
so that we can actually address all of these issues and do it smartly. Because right now, like if you look at Ohio, for instance, oh they are so they are in so much trouble. I mean, they are having mass water shortages and everything, and it's just it's a mess. And I think they've got, you know, they have a huge amount of data centers out there that just like really I mean they've just been letting them set up shop at left and right, and it's not good. I mean, there's a lot of really bad things coming out of Ohio right now, and
Yeah, and it doesn't surprise me either. Ohio and JD Vance and Palantir, and then he's like out here writing hillbilly elegy and communion, stealing off of bell hooks, and
yeah.
he's like completely made up this whole like I'm a Catholic Appalachian folk boy, and you're like, what?
I
So
honestly,
crazy.
it's always something new with him. I'm so confused by that man. Also, like, what's the deal with him and Erica Kirk? Are they the new thing now? Like, what happened to his wife? Yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me either, you know.
So
But like, oh, but apparently his wife doesn't own any Mega merch whatsoever.
That doesn't surprise me. Like just in that, I don't know, that doesn't surprise. Like she comes off as a very like put together business. Like I don't know, that doesn't.
Well, and from
very
what I
She's
was reading about her, I
dynamic.
guess she was actually like she comes from like a line of Democrats. So how she ended up with JD Vance and now she's like the vice president's, first
Second
lady,
lady.
second lady of the White House, and she, you know,
yeah, a bunch of them are. Prince. I mean, Hegseth went to Princeton and Harvard.
that guy's a huge mess.
There's
He
another one.
texting stuff through the signal chat, right? Hegseth was the one that did that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
The reporter.
yeah.
yes, it
So,
was.
oh my gosh,
Interesting.
so bad.
I apologize to my listeners for like going off into national news, but it's I wanted to make sure that y'all are highlighted, and then I do have a question, and then we'll ask this, and we'll get to wrap up. But tell me, what does your previous campaign experience? What has that taught you? Both of you have had campaign experience, and then you've also worked on Bernie Sanders, Valynda. Um, Whoever feels, has the answer first. But
I
how
think
has that
what
shaped your campaign?
the essence of a victorious campaign is to have an authentic candidate who's running in like is authentic. I think in this lower level, um, and actually I do think that because I obviously I worked in Virginia for a long time, and the governor Spannerberger, also a UVA graduated a couple years before I did at UVA, ran, I believe, an authentic approach. Was very like down to earth, and I think that resonates with people, even if they don't necessarily agree with you. If you come up and you talk to them on the doors or everything, and you say this is where I'm at, and then you listen and just holding, they if people can sense your passion and your just like energy, they might not agree with you, but they respect that you're doing that. um, and I think that's the essence of we're instead of being like this cookie cutter like personality to win, that people want, authentic messaging. They love to hear people's stories because they have stories of their own. They want to have people who like have lived experience that's like their own. um, And I think that's the big one. I mean, I always say just be yourself and everything will fall because that's just the way it is. And people like that. I mean, you have issues that are going to more than likely resonate with people in Cascade County. Um, and then know what they are and be able to talk to people about that, even if they disagree. And I think that's the essence of the campaign. I just going to talk to people and run the campaign that I wanted to run. Like my previous opponent is very established and very high name, so it's hard to run against many. I would say he's a pleasant person, and I never really had anything opposed to a lot of his politics. I mean, people like him, and now we can run a campaign without that, candidate and run it a little bit differently. Authentic and approach with lived experience and just unabashedly persistent.
Yeah, no, I highly agree with that. The two campaigns that I worked on, well, obviously, I mean, Bernie Sanders, that was a really big one. Even and that one definitely showed me that even though he didn't win that primary against Hillary Clinton, it was still like that didn't mean that like the work that we put in was all for naught. Like that just meant, just keep pressing on with the work that we were already doing. The campaign that I worked on with Ken Pentel, I mean, that was my intro into politics and campaigns and everything. And honestly, I think that was like the best first experience I could have gotten, was because he broke away from, the two-party system. He wanted to create his own party and run his campaign his way. And that's what we did. And it was honestly like very eye-opening, especially for like a first timer, that I was at the time. And yeah, and I definitely took away from both of those that, just run your campaign the way that you want to. I mean, my colors that I've chosen, I mean, they're pink, let's see, pink, purple, and teal. I love all three of those colors. That's just me in a nutshell. And I have, had people try to tell me previously, like, oh, but you want to stay away from pink and, da 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 da. I'm like, no, I just want to run the campaign that I'm going to run and just be authentically myself and go out there and, because I mean, basically this is like the longest interview that you could possibly ever have is with the people. So, I'm just trying to hopefully get their votes and get them to know that and see that I'm, genuinely there to listen and to actually fight for every single person. So that's the campaign, and that's what I took. So
That is all. It's really exciting. I'm glad to see both of y'all together, supporting one another, running in different races, completely different areas of government, but you're showing up and you're doing it. It's really inspiring. Thank you both for answering the call to run for office. Lela, can you do, or no, sorry, we started with Lela quite a bit. Valynda, will you? I didn't mean to do that. Valynda, will you? It just happened that way. Valynda, will you tell folks how they can volunteer, donate, or otherwise learn more about you?
yes, so actually I have my website up. I have everything on there. It's www.valyndaformt.com. And I was looking for volunteers, definitely doing the door knocking. My signs should hopefully be coming in this week. I'm fingers crossed, if not early next week. But so I'm gonna, anybody who would be willing to post up a sign in their yards or their businesses. Definitely going to start phone banking and getting out those calls, especially because I did get primaried by a Republican who filed as a Democrat. So I'm very much trying to make sure that everybody is aware that I am the only Democrat on the ticket for the primary. And then I will be off to the generals because I know I'm going to win this. So, but if you guys, and then I have my Act Blue up as well, so you can donate through that, or if you want to write a check or however you want to do it. I mean, there's multiple ways, but I have every way imaginable to contact me on my website. So.
Yeah, and you can look on my website, it's lelagraham.com. And then my Facebook page is just Lela Graham for HT21. And then that's going to be a lot of my, is where a lot of the posts we're going to be is coming from our Facebook, our campaign Facebook page. And that will have the ActBlue link that you can donate. There'll be a donation page on the website as well through ActBlue.
I forgot about all my socials.
Yeah, and you have all socials. One thing that we're also doing for every public event that we have, we're going to be doing a mutual aid ask, specifically for things that we know the community needs. I mean, we did toothbrushes, we did like deodorant, so
hygiene products.
So every public event we're doing, we're going to make a mutual aid ask that our community, that we hear on the ground that people need. So just be aware of that. So there'll be like that ask, because that's something we know that people need stuff in our community, and that's something that we are going to make a big part of the campaigns as we move forward. Because if you know of anything that needs in our community that people might need, just let us know, and then we'll make that ask at any public event.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do here. We help people.
Yeah.
Wow. Again, thank you so much for being willing to run. I appreciate you both. Folks, what did you think of this episode? Let me know in the comments. This was a really unique kind of opportunity to interview two different candidates running in different offices that are friends and have a similar vision, and really looking forward to your feedback, listeners. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, you know the drill. And otherwise, I'm your host, Lee Larson. This has been another episode of Follow the Leader, and until next time, see ya.
Thank you.
Thank you.